Regardless of your own music taste, it's likely that you know at least one person who's totally obsessed with K-pop. Personally, I knew something was going on with the whole K-pop thing when my cousin's Spotify suddenly switched from him listening to Drake and The Weeknd most days to a solid 2 weeks of the Bangtan Boys. K-pop's musical style and its wide appeal were birthed by the new level of cultural mixing enabled by mass music media, which are having a huge effect on musical globalization, as well as determining the increasingly post-genre sound of the music of tomorrow. So let's take a look at mass media and investigate how it's giving birth to new styles and changing the way we think about genre. Because sometimes it's important to remember that globalization isn't all bad. Merriam-Webster defines genre as a form of categorization characterized by a particular style, form, or content. Musicological studies have shown that individuals are listening to a wider variety of music genres now than ever before, and it makes sense because the variety of music available for free is far greater than it's ever been before. The average person with internet access who lives outside of the red zones on this map can listen to almost every song ever released for free on YouTube with no extra finagling necessary. And if you do happen to live in the red zone, it seems like you found a loophole anyways if you're watching this video, but your secret's safe with me. As a result of the increasing availability of just about every piece of music ever released, foreign styles like Latin pop have been able to maintain a more constant presence and mixture in American popular culture, rather than being limited to the occasional breakthrough hits like La Bamba and Gangnam Style as foreign genres had been for so long. As new styles gain more visibility in the mainstream and cultures mingle more in general as a result of new technologies, music becomes more prone to fusion and recombination of styles. The availability of different musical influences worldwide is literally changing the sound of the music of tomorrow. Even before the internet, global music trade and broadcast media like radio and MTV helped accelerate the speed at which people in faraway places could all pull musical influences from one another. But nowadays, genre fusion is reaching unforeseen levels of eclecticism. Many artists like Rosalia have gained popularity through the years by mixing niche and localized musical styles with contemporary international influences. But K-pop represents a new frontier for musical fusion. Like, for real, the musical style of K-pop itself is probably best summarized simply as a mix of hip-hop, pop, R&B, smooth jazz, Afrobeat, soul, funk, techno, and EDM. This massive fusion was probably partially influenced by some K-pop corporate executives who had the genius idea, if we want to make one song that appeals to everyone, let's just make a song that's every single genre in one. But musical diversity goes beyond commercialism in K-pop. Globalization itself is actually a major theme and element of the K-pop style. K-pop is a genre that couldn't have existed if it weren't for the universal accessibility that popular music has achieved today, and some people have even called K-pop genre agnostic, by how openly it mixes so many disparate styles. Mass media are giving birth to musical styles that change the way we think about genre, but they're also helping create a new vocabulary of music descriptors in which traditional genre tags are playing an increasingly elusive role. Genre markers have existed in most commercial media of music discovery for a long time. Even before radio existed, record stores had genre labels. Nowadays in record stores you'll find labels for traditional genres like classical, rock and pop, soul, or even indie or punk, and even world for music made by the other remaining 90% of the population. Plus, if you're lucky enough to have a real primo record store nearby, you might even have some quirky genres like Amoeba Music's New Orleans section, or as I once found in a German record store, the questionably titled Black Music section. But when music radio formats emerged, musical discovery and categorization started to be more oriented around descriptors and moods that could appeal to a broader audience than traditional musical styles. Adult contemporary radio stations, for example, may have all played music that fell into a comparable genre, but tags like hot, light, and modern helped people choose music based on how they felt rather than their awareness or taste for a certain musical style. And while modern mass media are far from abandoning genre, there's a clear attempt to market music outside of the black boxes of genre labels. At the beginning of the 2000s, iTunes pioneered digital music sales, bringing the genre tag tradition with it. To this day, Apple Music continues to force every new release into its extremely narrow set of genre tags, with albums like this Hindustani classical music record that I really like called A Meeting by the River, still falling under that outdated and dreaded world music tag, but other services have simply moved past genre identification. YouTube is the most used music streaming service in the world, and it has no system for labeling the style of individual music videos outside of just music. TikTok and Spotify also lack genre tags, and you'll even find in the Browse section of Spotify that, for the purpose of music discovery, genre and mood are actually grouped together under one tab. In this tab, you'll find somewhere between 22 to 24 out of 47 of the sections are actually more traditional music genres, like R&B, whereas the rest of them are really all more circumstantial or mood-based, like the focus section or just the mood section. There are even specialized sections devoted specifically to grouping together all sorts of content related to oppressed minority groups, like the Black History is Now tab and the Gaming tab. I'm just kidding, there's no section for gamers, I photoshopped that. Aha, double gotcha, there really is a gaming section, and it features this sick intro from the first brown boy to get it poppin', Nav himself.
Yo, what's up, it's Nav, and shout out to Spotify for letting me take over the Gaming Together playlist. Here's some of my favorite songs I'll be listening to while I'm gaming.
But despite the variety of different descriptors that Spotify uses, which we don't really normally consider to be traditional music genres, they do all, to some extent, to call back to that Merriam-Webster definition, succeed in describing the style, form, or content of the music found in the respective sections. In this way, not only is the way that we think about genre becoming a little bit looser and more general, as we can see in K-pop and the hundreds of different fusion and subgenre styles that are around today, but also the vocabulary that we use to categorize music is fundamentally changing as well. There will always be merit and usefulness in being able to offer someone who wants to hear country, EDM, R&B, or any number of the canon music genres the option to find music within that same style. But at the same time, music is evolving past the point where the limited genre labels like the ones used by Apple Music are sufficient to describe the many different styles of music listened to worldwide. Furthermore, media that use these traditional descriptors are at risk of alienating new customer bases. Acoustic or mellow might not be the most specific descriptors of all time, but for people in different countries, continents, and cultures who don't have the same understanding of traditional genre labels as we do, both of these words will do a better job of describing an album like A Meeting by the River than just plain old World. So in a way, I'd say that mass media and globalization are bringing an end to genre, but in another much more realistic and practical way, they're actually opening up genre to be a much more fluid and universal system than ever before.